Hey, okay. Okay, that is got that right. Ms. May, what about you today? Are you compliant? Okay, good, very good, very good. And for those of you not familiar with our Rotary experience, this is a segment we use to find members who are delinquent one way or the other, either not having their pins or their bars or something like that. And it helps to also generate some fun atmosphere. It helps to also define, it's a discretion of the sergeant at arms. All right, and it depends on the sergeant at arms feel it. All right. But I think today, and I'm gonna so be it mood. So it'll be $5 today for practice. All right, but luckily our guests are exempt from fines. Right? Raquel, you wanted to call me out a moment ago. Are you compliant? Is that a decorative? Yes, I was wondering if that was a some sort of designer thing. That's a rotary pin. Very nice, very nice. Did I call on you, sir? All right. Speaker, you spoken to. All right. And what about the beautiful twins, right? Are you all compliant? Yes? That sounds good. Can they not members yet? So you just like, you're the president's daughters. You should be always be ready. Good to have you all here with us today. All right. Well, I think that has been my time. Do we have our guest speaker? Are you ready? Yes, sir. Yes. All right, Ms. Wallace. Now you're gonna do the bio. Okay. We call Alondra or Terry Alondra to give the bio for our guest speaker today. Please welcome her as she comes. Good afternoon again.
Good afternoon.
One moment, sorry, it's so putting it over there. One moment. All right, so Ms. Kendra M. Wins is an assistant superintendent of police and is currently director for the Domestic Violence Task Force. She was the police force family liaison officer attached to the criminal investigation department, where she was attached for 16 years. Prior to her appointment as a police officer, she was a social worker assigned as a probation officer at the Department of Rehabilitation Welfare Services. Mrs. Wims obtained her master's degree in human resource management from Nova Southeastern University and a bachelor's of arts degree in psychology from St. Augustine's College. She has a host of additional qualifications and training from various institutions, locally as well as internationally. February 4, 2018, Mrs. Wims initiated the Summer Summit 242 in New Providence. The theme for the summit was It's a Love Affair. The objective of the program was to circumvent against second generational criminals. Mrs. Wims has made presentations to an astonishing 6,000 youth, inclusive of primary, junior, senior, public, and private, through youth empowerment programs and church youth groups and civic organizations. August 6, 2019, Mrs. Wims launched a 4-week transformation summer program under the theme, It's Not Too Late to Refocus. January 4, 2020, Mrs. Wims adopted one of the Ministry of Education schools government ties and provided lectures on various topics that are positively and negatively impacting our youth. September 10, 2020, she launched her very own nonprofit organization, It's All Love. The organization is geared towards the empowerment of females through mentorship programs, sensitization, training, and education forums, which will assist them in mitigating the difficulties associated with abusive relationships. Mrs. Wynn's unit introduced a series of men speak shattering stereotypes of men within the law enforcement department. November 27, 2023, Mrs. Wynn's unit created the series The Whole Woman, Love Me to Live and Not Love Me to Death. October 2023, she received the Trailblazer Champion of Change Award. In 2024 of September, she adopted the Penn Class Co-Educational Unit. In October 2024, she received the Officer of the Year for the Royal Bahamas. So I can see why you're very, very received. She has also obtained the National Security Officer of the Year and the Public Service Officer of the Year. Let's pause and give her a hand for that. Is an activist for women, men, and children, and she is a mother of 2 boys. Let's give her a hand and welcome her.
Thank you so much. It is indeed a great privilege to be here today. Recently, I lost my voice. So what I have to do now, I kind of like switch up the presentation. I want my officers to join me, please. And they are going to assist me in presenting the subject matter today, which is exposing violence. Resolving conflict, resolution in domestic violence, and the role of the Domestic Violence Task Force Unit. Domestic violence has plagued communities worldwide as well as ours for decades. It's a secret that our grandparents, our great grandparents never discussed. It's a disease that has gripped the very fabric of society. It has taken hold of our women, men, and children negatively, and has destroyed families. When you have a woman who can come into a station and report domestic violence against the person who they deem love them unconditionally, and all of a sudden it takes a turn where this person now becomes the perpetrator instead of their lover. They are now abusing them and making the victim believe as it's love. But what we're finding in cases, in particular family violence and intimate partner violence, is that violence in the home stems in the home for many decades. It's almost like incest. In society, we consider incest as taboo. Nobody wants to talk about it. No one wants to discuss it. But it's been around for a very long time. But now we're finding that women are now finding their voice. Not only women, but men. When you find men who are now able to come and speak about the violence that they have endured for years in their relationship, I don't deem that as a negative thing, but a very good thing. Because now the message is getting out there that violence is not a good thing. Violence is not a positive thing. And when it is in the home system, the children are affected. Sometimes ago, domestic violence and incest, as I mentioned, if I would coin it, a taboo. It wasn't readily exposed or is occurring in the homes in various societies. This disease wounds our children who are exposed to it on a daily basis, on how to keep secrets. It teaches our children on how to keep secrets, especially when they see things occur in a home setting, and the parents tell them not to say anything. That is our business. Nobody needs to know. This is just love. This is just the way we love. But when conflict occurs in the home, where the wife or husband is being abused verbally, mentally, physically, emotionally, and financially, children is present. And it is a learned behavior. Children are told this is how love is supposed to be. So what happens to society? The same children who are raised in the womb with violence are the same children who goes into our school system. And eventually they become adults in society. We as society ask the question, what's going on with our youth? What's going on with our children? Where did this violence came from all of a sudden? It wasn't all of a sudden. It was always there. It had to start somewhere. And guess where it started from? In the home. I want you all to think about something because we're going to take you down a journey of what the Domestic Violence Task Force Unit deals with on a daily basis with victims of domestic violence. Each of my officers is going to come up and they're going to share with you exactly what we do as police officers, as advocates for change within our community. I'm going to hand you over to Officer Hutchison.
Thank you, A.S. A pleasant afternoon to all once again.
Good afternoon.
The food smells so delicious. And so as I discuss briefly about conflict resolution, please sit back and enjoy and let's get started. Conflict resolution can be defined as the informal or formal process that two or more parties use to find a peaceful solution. Communication a big role in resolving conflict on a day-to-day basis. When we communicate effectively, we are able to understand clearly. Communication and comprehension go hand in hand. We don't have to like one another, but we should respect one another's opinions when it comes to conflict resolution. Listening is an asset in conflict resolution, which can prevent conflict between lovers, friends, family, and children. Domestic violence knows no boundary. My experience working in the domestic violence unit, I've experienced multiple conflict resolution cases with matters, with matters where matters could have been resolved between individuals who can have avoided conflict by communicating more effectively when only if they would come back later. My suggestion is let's listen before speaking. And I think that could make a difference. And like my ASP women would have mentioned, we have problems, yes. And they stem from conflict resolution. So, we all have time to play in it as in finding a solution. So sometimes walking away is not being a small person because eventually you have to come back and find a solution. And so that's what I wanted to speak on today, and I would like to invite Officer Bullock. Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so as a student stated, domestic violence is a learned behavior. So it starts in the home. As a child is being exposed to domestic violence, this can cause a child to grow up with trauma. It affects the way they feel, it affects the way they think, it affects the way they interact with one another. Domestic violence can have some short-term problems and effects and long-term. When a child is young and experiences domestic violence in that earlier stage, they face things like wet in the bed, they cry a lot, they find it hard to fall asleep. When they become a school-age child, they lose drive in participating in school events, things they love doing. They have it hard trying to find friends. They start to feel guilty. They blame themselves for the abuse they witnessed, an abuse that is put upon them. These kids get in trouble more often. It's not that they are bad students or bad kids. It's just that they're faced with trauma and they don't know how to overcome it. When they become teenagers, these kids start to involve themselves in things like drinking, smoking. They tend to fight more. And we would see them as rude kids. But most times it's always something. It's a reason why that child is acting with a character. It isn't that child is rude. That child has faced trauma. That child has witnessed domestic violence. And then when they become an adult, they use the same drugs and alcohol as an unhealthy way of coping with what they're going through. They tend to repeat the same behavior that they witnessed growing up as a child. And they also face mental illnesses, causing them to inflict harm and commit suicide because of what they experience without getting help at that. When a child or when children experience domestic violence, it is said that the male child will become a perpetrator and the female child will become a victim. This is because this is a cycle of abuse. When the male child sees the father abusing his mother, he thought that it's okay. Sometimes you have to put your wife in check. Sometimes you have to let your girlfriend know, well, hey, this is how you want things to be as a man. You should listen to me. And the female child tend to take on the abuse because she's seeing her mother being abused and not speak out on it. She was taught that this is your business. She was taught that. Don't let no one put you out of your house. Don't let no woman come in your marriage and take your man. So this is what she practiced. And this is what she takes on, and this is what she teaches her children. Because it's something called a generational curse. When it's practiced by the ancestors, they pass it down to their kids, and they pass it on to their kids. And this is why we're in a cycle of abuse. So if that cycle isn't broken, or the generational curse isn't broken, it will continue until you reach into adulthood and you have to face relationships and dating and marriages on your own, and you decide to break it. You see yourself in the same cycle all over again. And this is where intimate partner violence comes in and family violence comes in. And my co-worker office is hung up, so just bring it all together with intimate partner violence and family violence.
Good afternoon, everybody, once again.
Good afternoon.
So I would just like to piggyback off of what WPC Board spoke about in terms of children who experience violence. And then I'm gonna go a little bit into intimate partner violence. I believe that the best way to do this is to share a story with you all. And this is going to be my story, because I believe that God gives us tests to be testimonies to others. So growing up, I grew up with my mom. And my mom, she was single mom with 2 girls, 2 kids. And she was in abusive relationship as well for years. And growing up, I saw it, I heard it, and I also tried to get in the middle of it to stop it. And with seeing it, I didn't have the knowledge as to what to do. When I heard it, I was afraid, and the only thing that I knew to do was cry because I didn't know what to do. And it came to a point where I just wanted to stop it. I didn't want to see my mom being hurt. So sometimes I'd get in the middle of it. And I remember growing up, I would be so angry because I didn't understand why did she report it, why didn't she do anything. So it would hurt me to see her hurt. And the only thing I knew what to do or how to do at that time was just hug me and tell us it's gonna be okay. And I wish that she had what we have now, which is the domestic violence unit, seek help and seek counseling for herself and also her children growing up, because not only did she experience that trauma, but her kids experienced that trauma as well, seeing it, because we thought that it was okay. So after experiencing that as a child, I want to fast forward to me now being an adult. Being an adult, I also found myself stuck in an abusive relationship and being in that cycle. And while being in that relationship, I seek validation from my partner because I did not know myself out there. And the abuse that I experienced, it was physical, it was psychological, and it was also emotional. But before coming into the domestic violence unit, I only knew about the physical abuse. I didn't know that psychological abuse existed, emotional abuse existed, financial, verbal, and also spiritual. So I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know how to deal with it. But I did know that I wanted to break that generational curse. So what I did do was I seek help and I seek a therapist. And persons, there's this stigma behind going to a therapist. They believe that you're either weak or you're crazy or you're not strong if you seek help. But I just want to stand here today as a testimony and say that that was the best thing that I ever did. Because after going to a therapist, I can say that I learned what it is to have self-esteem. I learned what self-love is. And I took my identity back from that person. And I also learned how to express myself in a more healthy way in terms of my emotions. And the most important thing I learned that it is okay to report it. It is okay to speak up. So to say, or I said all that to say, it's okay to report it. And anybody in here who's experiencing any form of domestic violence, anybody on Zoom experiencing any form of domestic violence, or even if you're not experiencing it, but you know somebody that is, it's okay to speak up and report it, and it's okay to let them know to speak up and report it, because the help is there for you. It's there for you. And I want to say to the males, the few males in here, and also the females on Zoom as well, it is also okay to report it. Even if domestic violence is not just restricted to females, okay? It's okay for males and females to report it because we all experience it. And I'm happy to say that while being in the domestic violence unit, I've seen males come in and report. And when males come in and report, they express their gratitude to the unit because they feel as if they now have a voice and the awareness is being put out there. You know, there's this thing with males. They're supposed to be tough, they're supposed to be a man, and they're now coming in, they're now reporting, and they're now pushing them a bit because they feel as if they have somebody's ahead of them, and they also give thanks to the officers and leave with it because there's no judgment. They're not ridiculed. So they don't feel as less of a man because of what they're experiencing or going through. So I just want everybody in here to know that the help is here. We have referral pathways for you. We have counseling, we have protection orders, whatever it is that you need, we are here to provide that help for you. And it's not something to be taken lightly. It's domestic violence. It's not something that should be normalized or hidden. You know, I know when I experienced it, and when my mom experienced it, maybe she was embarrassed because I was embarrassed as well. But the help is there. So thank you so much.
Let's in silence. Now suffer in silence. And the unit was amalgamated in 2022 by the former Commissioner of Police. And the mandate was to assist all men, women, children, regardless of gender, regardless of age, regardless of religion. Our only mandate is to assist all that comes into our space. And the only or the most important requirement from the officers attached to the unit is confidentiality is of utmost importance, very important. And when our victims see that they can provide this information in a safe space, they provide all the information to us that we need to help them. The Domestic Violence Task Force Unit will be launched very soon. We have a building which will assist victims of domestic violence. The office space, which is set apart from the police station, and it's going to be a one-stop shop where it consists of not only police officers, but social workers, the crisis centers, the judicial system, as well as non-profit organizations and public hospital authority. We also have Ministry of Education, also part of our unit, to assist victims holistically. Once again, Rotarian, thank you for having us.
Jamina.
Any questions?
Just a question on that. So, say someone wants to come to you with an issue, what is now your position? Where to go from there?
Okay, once the matter is reported to the police, our station is located at police headquarters. They'll take the information that they need. Some victims, what they don't want is police action. So we'll take the information and they may say, well, we want a protection order. What is a protection order? They want a protection order against the perpetrator. Now, what we do is we assist them in preparing the documents for the protection order, as well as we prepare a referral pathway. What does this referral pathway look like? It's the domestic violence unit at social services who assists with the housing. Then we also have the crisis center who assists with counseling as well. Social services assists with housing, sorry. And then we also have the non-profit organization who also assists in that regard. For most part, we see our victims and they only want a specific help in getting out of the relationship temporarily. They may not want the action taken against the perpetrator, but what they would need is the social aspect of it, which is housing, which is counseling. All of that is arranged in-house at the Domestic Violence Task Force Unit. Additionally, if that victim has children and they require child support, the application is also completed at the office as well. This is why it is a one-stop shop unit. It prevents the victims and their children from leaving a station, having to find a social worker, having to find housing, having to find child support, having to find emergency food assistance. Whereas in-house, they can receive that holistically. And that is why it is a one-stop shop. Because you find that victims are very traumatized. They're already traumatized. They are walking for most part. They are not driving when they come to the office to report their matters. So you have a woman and their children walking to police headquarters on East Street, which means that they are serious, they need assistance. And in every case, the victim says the same thing. Where am I going to go? The perpetrator is the breadwinner of the home. I have no money. It is his house. He's paying the rent. I don't have a job. Who is going to take care of me and my children? Right then and there, we have to move quickly in ensuring that this family is secure before the end of the day. So when you hear Officer Tucker talk about the referral pathways, that's what it consists of. All of these agencies, all of these variables is important to ensure that the victim receive the justice that they need, inclusive of the judicial system. Because when that protection order application gets to the court, it has to be heard at a specific time. So only thing that we're working with is time for the children and the victim.
Thank you. I have a question. Speaking of children, does your unit, does it just wait for persons to come and make complaints? Or does it actually go out in the communities to try to and see really people who might be vulnerable to abuse and are suffering, especially the children who don't have the means and the ability to come to court, but still nonetheless still suffering with their parents and older siblings and uncles and aunts and so forth. What about those non-segment society?
Right.
Question hinges on the same thing. Do you have any kind of link with the guidance department in various schools? So that's coming off this question they ask. Do the schools, are they aware of your unit and that they can reach out?
So we are in the school system on a yearly basis. We run a circuit from primary school to high school, where we provide lectures, sensitization, training as it relates to domestic violence, peer pressure, conflict resolution, sexual promiscuity, as well as suicide. Because when you look at domestic violence, it encompasses all of these different tiers. It's not just domestic. All of these different aspects is under one umbrella as it relates to domestic violence, in particular bullying in the school system. So the Ministry of Education has us in the schools on I would say almost daily, every other day, or maybe twice a week. We are in the school. We have an excellent relationship with the guidance department. When we need to go into the school, we reach out to the school as well as they reach out to us. And we formulate programs in the school as well as Center for Boys and Willoughby Center for Girls. So we're in the school reaching out to these young people because the school system is finding out where these children are being abused. And watch the link. The link is this. We have a school resource officer in the school, right? The school resource officer then works along with the guidance department, as well as the social worker who is assigned to that school. The link is that right there. Once that information is reported, Child Protection or Department of Social Services will get that information right away, which would then filter into the domestic violence task force unit. We work hand in hand in order to assist the entire family. And as it relates to the questions, sir, Sergeant Obama, we had to go out in the community, especially in 2022, when the unit was amalgamated, and actually before that. We were out in the school running various programs in the community. And we're finding that as well as our elderly persons also crying out for assistance as it relates to domestic violence within the homes. And sometimes I find that we forget about our elderly persons in the homes who are now also reporting matters of domestic violence. So what we had to do, we had to get out of the four walls. We had to go into the community, which we are in the community constantly, not only training, but sensitizing. Because what we learned over these 4 or 5 years since the unit was amalgamated, people didn't know what domestic violence was. They didn't know what that was. They only thought domestic violence was physical abuse. But the emotional abuse outweighs the physical because it is lasting mentally. It's trauma. It's constant trauma to have to recall that in your memory. And it never leaves you. Most women, years when I was attached to the criminal investigation department, women used to say, I prefer a man beat me day in, day out, than to have to say I'm stupid. I'm not beautiful. I'm not qualified. They prefer to get beat because the words that forms them over a period of time, and they become what the perpetrators say they are. We are also in the church. The church. You can't forget the church. That's when 99% of our women are in the church. So most of our lectures are also here in the church, and we have partners who are church members, church communities, Anglican Catholic, as well as the Greek Orthodox Church. We have all of them who are partners with us to ensure that we keep this connection and there is no gap.
All right, thank you. The same, I think our time is up, so I'll invite Alejandro to thank you to our speaker.
So much once again. Let's give Mrs. Williams a hand. Wonderful job. I recall some 10 years ago. I had a student. Whenever his stepdad put him and his mother, I got it as a teacher. So I know exactly what you're doing and how important it is for the moving of the next generation of persons facility to the country. I can feel your passion, it's there. So we encourage you, we say thank you for coming in today and speak and share with us, share light on the topic of domestic violence in our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just before we end this meeting, which is short time. Oh, yes, way behind time. So we can actually find so far $15. Any other infractions? Remember before we test into the proof and so forth, right? I paid my fine. Any of those will carry to a care in infractions. Jim, you have your pin on? I don't remember seeing. Oh, you got a fine. You're volunteering. All right. Okay, well, we'll break it down anyway. But if you can be upstanding, please. Right. Welcome to the close of our meeting. And we'll end it by the four-way test. And you all can say it together. And you carry just get it right for the benefit of our guests who are listening and watching us. Of the things say or do. Firstly,
is it the truth?
Secondly,
Is it fair to all concerned?
thirdly,
Will it build better friendships?
and fourthly,
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
and what we've just added recently.
Will it be fun?
All right, you all at the top.
Yes,
Very
it
good.
will.
Round of applause is, and the final toast. I'll ask, illustrious retired, I'll ask Jim to say, final toast.
Rotary around the world.
Have a wonderful,
Thank you,
rest of the day,
everyone.
everybody. Have a very safe, peaceful, and happy week. Thank you all for being with us today.